Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew studio. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with promo code MyWorld at bluechew.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer himself, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
It is a busy My World recording day, but coming off a heck of a weekend, Conrad. I have so many folks that said, hey, tell old Connie hello. Hey, I listened to y'all's pod. Hey, I like this, I like that. But doing some baseball, and as announced last week, pretty much when we were recording, the arena football won, the Cats arena team. That's quite busy right now, Conrad. So I was looking at my phone, but I promise you I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn my phone over for the recording. I probably should take my watch off. I think I actually will take my watch off here, Conrad, so you can have my undivided attention. We got a lot coming up, pal. End of May. Feels like it's kind of shaping up. I'm going to leave that to you. But Connie, any news and notes over the weekend that you might be looped in that the old Last Outlaw was out signing autographs I may not be aware of?
Well, did you see Steve Maclin get knocked the fuck out at the TNA pay-per-view over the weekend?
I heard about that. Cody did tell me that. I hate that. I haven't seen it, but I mean, he just a little snug, right? But nothing reckless again, Conrad. So I may be speaking out of turn, but it just it ain't ballet, kid. And hit him right on the chin, and out goes. Right? Is that that's the accurate story? Correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I don't think there's any heat on Santana. It was just one of those things. But you see quick reflexes by the referee there for TNA, throwing up the X, and they actually did something you almost never see in wrestling anymore, which I thought was pretty cool. They took care of the athlete. That was the end of the match. And of course, Maclin was, of course, diagnosed with a concussion. They freestyled and tried to send fans home happy and throw another match in there. But Maclin is on the other side tweeting, "Hey, you can't kill me." I'm excited to see him return. He says, "Thanks everyone for the calls, texts, and tweets. You can't effing kill me. I'm bulletproof." Hashtag Maclin. Hey, this is kind of cool though. You know, this is I hate to say it that way, but here we've got a world title match. And once upon a time, you know, the old wrestlerism was, hey, find a way to finish the match, rub some dirt on it, keep going. But now if we really are putting safety of the athletes as priority, I don't think that's new age bullshit. I think that's long overdue. So the idea that a match stopped for the safe health and safety of the performers, I'm thrilled with, especially knowing that, you know, this is main event title match stuff, but it was still a priority. I think that's a good thing for TNA. Kudos to them.
Yeah, again, Conrad, I didn't see it, but main event, what a tough position for all involved, but very cool to hear that. So I don't want to sound, did Maclin walk out of the ring under his own strength, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, there were some folks there helping him out, as you saw in the stills there.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. Well, the good man, that is cool. The times are a changing. I'll just say that times are changing. So yeah, hats off to everyone. It is so difficult, and that's why I applaud them. It's really hard to make the right decision in the heat of the moment, because you're like, is he hurt? Is he not? But obviously, all signs pointed to Mr. Maclin needed to take at least a breather and call it. So. It happens, man. Not a ballet. No, we don't. What we do is not ballet. So yes, I hope he's feeling better, going through the protocol and doing what he needs to do to ultimately get back in the ring.
Speaking of it ain't ballet, hear about my friend getting stabbed over the weekend?
Stop it.
Well, yeah.
I was enlightened, and none other by Mr. Cody Angle. I landed last night at, I don't know, 9:50, 9:45, rolled in. Cody was not asleep, and he brought me up. He did reference, but I'd already heard on the flight, in between flights, I'd heard about the Maclin situation a little bit. No real context, but He's the one who enlightened me. And I said, Coach, are you sure? He said, yep. I said, was it a fan? That's where the details got a little fuzzy. So I know you've got more context here, but Conrad, we go from lights out, knockout to a stabbing. So we're headed to a trifecta. I can't wait to hear how you finish this story, but is he okay today? Is your man Cruel okay today?
From what I understand, it's as he texted me, just a flesh wound.
Okay.
So I guess he's okay, but
so
hey,
but the guy pulled a knife.
Feels very Territory days, does it not? I mean, he's got an Ole Anderson story here. What the hell?
So the guy pulled a knife on him.
Stabbed him in the stomach, I guess.
Damn.
From the video, you see his arm bleeding. So I thought he got stabbed in the arm. Silly me. He was in the main event against Schlack. They do death matches, of course. You've probably seen both of their stuff in MLW or GCW, or I mean, they're two of the more regularly booked independent guys around, but they were in there, you know, getting pretty bloody. And I guess afterwards it spilled over with a fan. And yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Connie, right up there at the top of this topic. Again, I did the signings this weekend, and then arena stuff is kind of engulfed me in so many ways in baseball. Decatur Beanballers, we're launching that brand up there. I got to show you that merch there. We're selling merch in all 50 states, but has the stabbing gone viral? Has TMZ picked up on it? Because things like this it always ends up being something, this kind of stuff that maybe might not shed the best light on professional wrestling, but it certainly ends up going viral. Has it hit the viral lanes yet?
I think it's just viral in wrestling. I don't know that it's viral outside of the wrestling bubble just yet. I don't believe I've seen anything from TMZ. By the time this is published and everybody's hearing it, it may be out now. But as of this moment, as we're recording, I think it's mostly just in the internet wrestling community.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of false reporting out there. I've seen some people throw around that there was a Facebook group that deserves some of the blame for whatever happened. That's ridiculous. Everybody has agency over themselves. I don't think a Facebook group, had their pitchforks out and made a guy take a knife to a show and stare down a wrestler and decide, hey, even though I'm in a Facebook group about wrestling, I'm not that smart to the business. So I'm going to try to fight a wrestler.
Mercy.
And maybe even worse, Jeff, nobody held the fucker down and waited till the police came. They just punched him and he kept it moving, and then they let him leave. And then they all went back to their gimmick tables and started selling merch. And I thought to myself, this is like the old Territory days. Like, oh, you got stabbed. No big deal. Tickets on sale for our next show.
Hold on. Cops didn't get there?
I don't think he was arrested. Like, they all took turns punching him. And I don't think, he walked out on his own. He was fine. He's probably got a few knots on his head, but yeah, he left. And I thought to myself, why would we not just call the police and hold him? I don't think stabbing is allowed or encouraged.
Connie, we probably should move on to this because I'm not dealing with all the information, but the cops will get involved.
Well, if anybody, listen, who knows what's going to happen or not happen. I just know that every now and again, I think we're all so fucking in the wrestling bubble, we forget, hey, that was a crime.
A crime. Nowadays you can get arrested for anything. That's certainly a crime.
Maybe there should be some paperwork involved. And I know when y'all stab each other with light tubes, that's different. But when there's a pocket knife from a fan that was not discussed ahead of time.
Do we know what provoked this or what the set of circumstances were? Was there a woman involved? Was there a love affair involved?
I don't know all the details. I'm led to believe that this is simply a fan who, if I had to guess, was probably under the influence of alcohol. Just guessing.
Okay.
And he may or may not have decided that he didn't like the character Cruel.
Okay.
And I think he was probably in the staring contest and maybe felt challenged. I don't know all the details. I haven't actually spoken to him. I just know he said, I'm okay, just a flesh wound. So that was enough for me. But Jeff, I do want to ask.
Mark, that's what they used to yell when something like that. That's how the term Mark. All right, we got a Mark. So Where's the hooker at? Where's the
hang on. You would yell Mark like that whenever you felt like there was a fan who may be a problem?
It depends. It's all kind of situational, but yeah, you just kind of, well, you got to give kind of some heads up. Said, oh, you know, you need to,
Help me understand. Like if you found yourself in a serious situation like that, let's call it, 86, 87, 88, and it's still the dying days of the territories, but by God, you're still in them. And there's a fan who is not happy with you, and you can tell this may be a situation. Maybe you find yourself in a staring contest, but you realize, hey, I'm the only member of the locker room in this vicinity. Is you yelling Mark like that a way to just alert the boys, hey, I may need backup?
so I was taught, and I can't say hundreds of times, but many times. And it always would kind of happen. Let me think of old time up in Kentucky, Conrad. We used to have 3 matches, intermission, 2 matches, short intermission. But it always kind of happened in that short intermission. And a lot of times Lala would be on last. So I would go from the ring to the picture table a second time. That always kind of rung a bell. That then you'd have the guy who's pissed off and he's arguing with the ref, and he comes over and maybe the ref's at the table, but there's just chatter, and you can kind of see a guy begin to lose his temper. And like Eddie Marlin, I would yell, "Hey man, got a mark," and just you would know that, okay. But Spidey senses up, put your radar on, folks, let's watch this. If I'm kind of role playing and going back in a scenario, there was a town called Olytic, Indiana, Conrad, that my grandmother ran. But Eddie doubled down because he was in Louisville anyway. And this kind of scene went on, and Eddie, when he heard there's a mark, he went right around the corner. And Eddie always used to carry a blackjack in his pocket anyway. But there's a uniformed cop, and he said, "Hey man, come visit me." And the uniformed cop, and then Eddie came right on in and came over to me. But Eddie always act busy. He's coming up to me, but absolutely had his eye on the guy because he didn't want to cause any threat or anything like that. But Eddie come right over to me, and then the cop went right up to the guy. But stuff like that. So yeah. That was kind of what I always, you can speak carny and all that nonsense. And some folks do that, start speaking carny. But the easiest thing is, we got a Mark, or where's Mark, or hey, Mark, just knowing that you got somebody you need to be aware of. Does that make sense, Conrad?
It makes great sense. I love it. I mean, that's something I didn't know.
That's like Mark him.
Yeah. No, I get it. So chat me up. Like, do you remember there being, because we've always heard about, the riots that happened in Mid-South, and I'm sure that, it got loud and rowdy and raucous in Memphis back in the day too. Were you ever in the middle of any of those situations where it was just chaos all around you? And I know that some of that has happened in Mexico. I mean, specifically in the territory days or here in America, and then we'll come back to Mexico.
During the Moondog run, and Larry kind of invited it. And so I can't always say that was, many times. And there, one of the Moondogs, Spike, that was Bill Smithson, man, heart of gold, he was a biker. But he always would kind of keep his eye on different folks. And I can remember him coming over to him many a night. And Cujo, which was Lanny, which was cousin Junior for folks that don't know, but he was another man, big old dude, athletic as hell. But during that Moondog feud, because we're fighting in the crowd so much, Larry would get to the building and search out, because we always had uniform cops. That was kind of just part of the deal. And he would say, hey, he'd befriend them and essentially kind of give them a heads up. And especially during the night. That's why things have changed so much, Conrad. In those days, especially in that program, you just kind of take a little survey and look across the arena and go, okay. And most of the time you could kind of spot them. A guy that a lot of times they'd be alone, or kind of a group of guys some of them wearing muscle shirts or something like that. But every now and then you would see a kind of a wiry guy with his gal and having a few cold ones. And as the night got on, a little bit rougher and a little bit louder, but you always kind of had your eye on it. But when you get out in the crowd and fight in those, in the moondog matches, they would kind of get around. And Larry was very bold, but he kind of had an air about him that every now and then a guy would kind of bow up at him, especially because Lawler would sell so good and get over in the face. And I mean, he good at it. And that's where Larry's partners would always kind of keep an eye on it. And like nothing really got out of hand. There would be maybe a guy that might think about it, but Bill Smithson knew how to take care of business under the radar quickly. And most of the time, those folks got put out of the building, but nothing crazy. But as far as riots, we'll talk about Mexico. But as far as in Tennessee, I can't say riots, but you would you would have people try, and then the cops be right on it, and it'd be out the door. And that's where like the cops not being there in that arena that you guys are talking about. So you said, hey, we didn't hold him down to the cops. Tells me the cops weren't there to begin with. So,
well, it was an indie show. I think they were at the Berwyn Eagles Club in Berwyn, Illinois. I for one, am glad.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think there's cops at every indie show? I don't.
Okay. That's a good question I
don't believe that to be the case.
Okay.
I think these guys, I mean,
not after I think it through, they're not going to be at every show. It's a good idea though.
It's a great idea, but it's one that costs money. And as you know, that's something that the independents try not to do, is spend any money. I get.
Yeah, I get that. I do.
They're not making any. So I know that some people will say, oh, well, if you can't afford to do it, don't do it. Well,
there's two sides to that. I get it.
There's a catch-22 to that too, because then you don't get any opportunity for these guys to do anything. So it's an unfortunate situation, but I think, some people got dome pieced and there was a flesh wound. So maybe we've learned our lesson and cooler heads have prevailed and we'll live to fight another day.
There you go.
I do want to ask, when you think about your Mexican experience, I know that you have, I don't know another way to say it. I feel like a lot of times whenever you get a big star who comes to a new territory, or even if it's a return, like when Seth Rollins, if he got injured as a heel, when he comes back, he's a baby face. If Triple H gets injured as a heel, when he comes back, he's a baby face. You're going to get that superstar reaction no matter what. And I know that as much as we want to pretend at times that, oh, it's totally different, the WWE product and national television here in America, a lot of times seeps out all over the globe. So when WWE stars or stars from American television pop up in Mexico, I feel like they probably get a superstar reaction there too, just because they recognize, oh, this is so-and-so from WWE. This is so-and-so from WCW. This is so-and-so from TNA, whatever the case may be. So it feels like you saying, hey, I have to be a heel. I don't want that superstar reaction. I don't want a warm welcome, but they're not going to understand me shitting on them in English. And I'm not fluent in Spanish. I got to come up with something to make them hate me. How did you arrive on, I'm going to throw tortillas?
That is the OG himself, the promoter, Antonio Pena. That was his absolute brainchild. I mean, when I think back to going down there, gosh, I don't even know what year that was. 05, 04, 03, 04, 05, right now. And that's when he gave me the first big push, and Ready Rays and Beat Latin Lover, and just like he was building this anti-Mexico American businessman, because they always would, throw in founder of TNA or whatever it may be, and king of the mountain of TNA. And, I'm the American champion NWA during that time and positioned it. And, he just like, you're above the Mexican people, and that's how we're going to portray you. And it's, and I'll give Dutch some credit here too, because in those first couple of promos, Dutch, all of his experience in Puerto Rico, and English not being the first language, it translated. And we used Armando Quintera, but we also used some different announcers, and I'd go down, and it's all in. To me, I think the beauty of it all was I came to the stage, guitar in hand, and then a pile of tortillas in the other hand, and I'd throw them out one at a time. But the follow up and the announcers and the packaging, and I think at the very core of it, the thing that really resonated with them is that my position was, and I said it, and again, this is Dutch. He wanted to make sure that the Spanish translation, and I said it in English, but he wanted to make sure whoever was translating in those first couple of times is that I refer to Mexico. I said, you have a primitive language, and you have a primitive diet or food, and throw it out, because you're truly kind of primitive people. You're and man, oh man, Conrad, when I would kind of roll that out. And I also think, and this is what talking to the different folks down there, and I do just learning, and it's a throwback to Lawler or whatever. And I don't want to call it old school heat, but I think it's body language, and I think so many things. Conrad, you referenced it on 1FW, something you said, but I do. I think it's the body language that I've always had as a heel. To me, it is so important. Conrad, I had a guy yesterday in Syracuse come up to me at the autograph table, and he went into great detail how he despised me as Double J character, that he had no idea that no other wrestling but the WWF existed. And now he's into AEW, he's in independent wrestling, but he's like, anyway, me and Brian were signing autographs. He went into great detail, but I do think body language was a massive part of my success. It wasn't just throwing out tortillas. I think the body language of a heel is everything. So, I was always kind of anti, and when I would take little sabbaticals from Mexico in return, I give Conan credit here. He would always, we're aware that, all right, they hadn't seen Jeff in a while, and they're going to, applaud, and there's going to be that surprise look. But I was always very conscientious, and Conan was conscientious, and later Dorian, and just kind of knowing the lay of the land. Once that surprise is out, man, you got to double down, because there is no money in trying to kind of quote unquote milk that international superstardom. There's just no money in it. So you got to dig right into what's going to draw money. So I don't know if that makes sense, Connie, but that's kind of the mentality and the lay of the land. But we were talking about riots and heat and all that kind of stuff. It is a different day and age. It certainly is.
It's interesting that angle and that positioning exists in Mexico, and clearly it works. You guys go back to the well to it, but I don't think there's a chance with American sensibilities that anybody would ever dare try that here in America. Don't you think?
Try what? I want to make sure I understand
the whole tortilla piece, and you're primitive people and blah, blah, blah. I mean, listen, based on American sensibilities, you'd be canceled. That's racist and blah, 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 but it is old school wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's tried and true and proven to work. But I just don't think that here in America, anybody would ever allow it. But in Mexico, it feels like it's the go-to. And I'm wondering, as a larger question to you, do you think that's because by and large, they still book in Puerto Rico and Mexico, they still book for heat, and maybe they don't as much in America anymore because our sensibilities have changed so much?
Well, man, this is about in 2026, almost at the very top of philosophical mindsets of, obviously we'll call it in the bubble in professional wrestling, but the whole world knows we're scripted entertainment. But yet, I mean, we can go down the list, but yet, and I can't say that I really disagree with you, but the whole mindset in scripted entertainment, oh, but this is real, so we got to cancel him. So, oh Lord, no, we can't let this guy create this character. And don't you find that kind of amusing? That
It's stupid. I don't understand why people get so upset by it. Like, I think there should be offensive, terrible characters in wrestling. There are in every other movie or television show I watch.
Well, so here, let me ask you: is it the reality being talent are afraid to try it?
No, I don't think it's that time. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that. Yeah, you know what? I am wrong on that. Because like our buddy Sam Adonis, he did like a Donald Trump gimmick several years ago in Mexico. And I think that's probably hurt his ability to be booked. Like, I think there's some people who are like, oh, you can't bring that guy in because he did a Donald Trump thing or whatever. So I don't think he does it anymore. And it's like, once upon a time, that would have been an absolute no brainer. I mean, the WWE used to have, you know, fake Bill Clinton. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about?
Iron Sheik during the Gulf War, like a real war. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, that's why I just think is it I don't know, man, because the essence of an old chairman, Vinnie Mac, but you know, and he's not the only one that said it, art imitating life and life imitating art. At the very core of it, I often think about Jimmy Hart, and when you really know Jimmy Hart and know his heart, but yet he's this heel and he's afraid to walk outside of WMC TV studios because of what he just did on a Saturday morning TV. And the switchboard lady said, hey guys, we got a couple of death threats. And they specifically named Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy's literally scared to death to walk outside to what he said. But that's kind of the nature of the business. And I know it's a different day and age. I get that. But the very core of what we do, and talking to some TV folks and talking about live content, and man, live content, it's live content, and then others. It's the only thing that's really right. I mean, you can get a Yellowstone and a couple of new shows that hit, but man, they're just so few and far between. But this old professional wrestling that can create content in an economical fashion that is sports entertainment and has been now for several generations, 20, 30 years. But Lord have mercy, don't you ever, ever say something that's out of bounds or we're going to cancel your ass. Just the Sam Adonis example, that's another thing. It shows you the power of what we do. So I'm not bitching because it's professional wrestling. But on the other hand, I don't know, Conrad, for the growth, talent, push through, man. Just go grab the bull by the horns and roll with it. But then I get it. Then you're getting into promoters and everybody's got rabbit ears that is on X or Instagram or TikTok, and oh boy, you can't do that. I don't know. It's a psychology that I think in the end of the day, the psychology at times ends up being carnivorous and eating their own.
Do you, so it almost sounds like you feel like everyone's scared to be hated right now in 2026.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I have said this, said it to a guy. I may tell you the story later, but Conrad, I would love to be, and I don't have no regrets. I'm very grateful for where I'm at today. So many positive things going on, but hypothetically speaking, let's take Double J back to me being 25. When did I go? So I went to WWF when I was 24, a young Double J breaking onto the scene with social media. I'd love it, Conrad. I would absolutely love it. I'd love it. But, at the end of the day, it's got to come from top down. It has to start from top down and, get everyone engaged. Conrad, we could talk different things, but, through the years, Jeff, why did you, and I'm just trying to think of him. Hey, Jeff, why did you wear that outfit and everything? I mean, like people being serious. And I'm like, if you really want to talk about this, yeah, I said, you didn't like it, did you? No, it's kind of silly. It kind of sucked. I mean, just it looks stupid. And what does Bischoff call it? Dick Dancer and Conrad. I don't know what y'all call it, just different things. It's like when you really drill down to it, the guy who wrote my checks, he loved it. And if he didn't like it or didn't love it, don't you think old chairman would have said, Jeff, take that shit off. I want Double J in this character. Like, do you present your persona from the hat you wear, from the tights you wear, from the clothes you wear, to how you talk, to how you interact? It's your IP. And your IP and my IP in my brain was, I have to be geared that I want the entire wrestling world and outside the world to say, I'm going to pay to see him get his ass kicked. It's that simple. Is that old school mentality now, Conrad, that people don't really view being an antagonist on a wrestling show as, okay, that's the money. I need to make it where people will tune in, or in AEW's case, buy a pay-per-view, or just the simplicity deal. Look on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, tune into this, because my role is to get people engaged in the product. I'm not going to say hate, but get engaged in the product where they want to see this character get his comeuppance. Is that old school, Conrad? Is that era gone?
I think the Attitude Era helped kill it. I think the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash dropping their personas of Razor and Diesel and becoming their real names and portraying themselves as the cool heel, I think made it difficult for a lot of WCW baby faces to be taken seriously. It sort of neutered the baby faces, where you've sort of thrown out the tried and true formula of good versus evil. And on the other channel, you saw Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was less, I mean, let's not forget, the Macho Man used to dress ridiculously. Hulk Hogan was wearing bright yellow. I mean, like Big Bird. The Ultimate Warrior had the big poofy hair and face paint and tassels and bright pastel colors and neon colors. And now here's Stone Cold drinking beer, wearing black, swearing middle fingers. That doesn't feel like a traditional baby face the way a Hulk Hogan or a Sting was. And even Sting on the other channel, he's no longer neon colors. Now he's darker. And I think wrestling got cool during the Attitude Era, but then as a result, everybody wanted to be seen as being cool. And so they would look at your old outfits from the new generation and they'd say, oh, he's not cool. Yeah, that was the idea. He was hoping that you would agree that he looked ridiculous and booed him because he looked like a guy you wanted to punch. And I feel like now, even though like MJF probably does it better than most as far as staying in character and all that, I think everybody who watches AEW is watching with a wink and a nod. We know that, okay, Max is playing a heel and he's really good at his job and he's going to shit on everybody and we're all going to go, ooh. And so that's like the cool, but he stays in character all the time. So he does a great job at it. But I'm just saying, I don't know that people genuinely hate Max. I think they can appreciate, hey, this guy's a good wrestler and he's got a good promo. There's not that I fucking hate it. I don't think that exists for MJF, the character.
Can it exist in 2026? Is more of my question.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't point to anybody that really exists for right now because, the people that it feels like the internet wrestling community truly hate, they hate for real life stuff, not what their character did.
Which would be political or religious type. And I'm not trying to, I'm saying along those lines.
There's people who I think a lot of people assume or imagined would be wrestling on TV right now, and they're not because they had some off the field controversy. and people feel a certain type of way about them now, whether it's fair or not. Guys like Enzo, guys like Marty Skrull, like these guys are the villains of the internet wrestling community, and they're not featured on TV. And I think once upon a time, given the track record and history of everything we've seen throughout pro wrestling, those guys would have been back on the road fairly quickly. Don't you think?
Oh, no doubt.
I mean,
No,
if you had if Global Force Wrestling was running when Enzo got fired, how quickly would Enzo have been on Global Force TV?
Yeah, I mean, you've like this. He who without sin cast the first stone. I get it, and you can't look. It's an individual case by case basis, and are you guilty until proven innocent, or innocent till proven guilty? And at what time does a person pay their debts to society, like our legal system? But once, I guess you could say, the water is under the bridge at whatever level. Black ink versus red ink. Can this guy contribute to the product? I think Enzo is an incredible talent. Just very charismatic. I mean, that's what got him to the dance to begin with. So that's where it's just, I guess it's a head scratcher back to, can a heel get heat in 2026? Or is heat equal to cancel culture? I don't know.
It's weird because I think, the very nature of so much of these, I mean, listen, we're not advocating that this be a wrestling character now. I'm not, but I am saying once upon a time, pretty famous Nazi characters in wrestling. And lots of stereotypical Japanese characters, like, I'm not saying that there hasn't been an evolution that's been, yes, we should have gotten better. But to your point, where do we draw the line on, hey, I find that offensive, but hey, that was kind of the idea. This character is supposed to be offensive. It doesn't mean the real guy. I mean, that to me is the part where I'm with you. Like, hey, if this was on literally any other television program, would you feel the same way? And almost unanimously, the answer is no.
Say that again.
I'm saying if the heel characters, like, I'm not advocating that there should be a Nazi character in wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but I know Fritz von Erich and others were. And I'm saying if we go turn on FX or TBS or TNT or USA or any sort of cable thing, they may have a white supremacist character on the show. And I don't think that's going to spark outrage online for the fans of that show, because that is a part of life. You're not celebrating it necessarily. You're not going to merchandise it necessarily, but I'm saying that's part of life. And so you're telling a story that's supposed to reflect real life. But I feel like now we don't want that. We want it to be an escape from the real world. And I'm all cool with that. I'm glad it's evolved. I don't think we need to have PDF characters in wrestling or Nazis in wrestling, or I'm all for that. But I'm also okay if one guy just really wants to be known as the ultimate villain, because he is. Like, villains in Marvel movies kill people and do bad things. We need somebody like that in wrestling.
I just think that and this is another thought just crossed my mind, because, we've talked about, or I've talked about, and we've chatted a lot, that I think the next person that comes along that figures out the right social media strategy as their tool becomes the brand in and of itself. And that brand will be bigger than the promotion. There was a time that the NWO was bigger, quote unquote, or, it steered so many things, and Stone Cold steered so many things. But there's going to be a talent that comes along that kind of figures that out. And I've thought for a while, and the thought just crossed my path that, there's going to be a guy that figures that out. He's going to be a babyface. Maybe Conrad, the guy that figures it out, is going to come along, and the promotion is just going to say, you know what? I'm just going to double down, and I'm going to stick with this, and we're going to embrace this no good, rotten son of a bitch. And the next talent that gets super hot Is he the antagonist? And I say antagonist because people, when they hear heel, they go, oh, that's that old school wrestling talk. And I'm just like, well, we're telling a story here, guys, like on a TV show. Like if you were and Duke is a big heel in this March Madness and has been for years. That kid from Connecticut, but there's also Duke fans, but that kid from Connecticut that hit that 3-pointer with under 10 seconds to go, huge baby face. So there's antagonists and protagonists in every story, whether it's sport or drama or whatever it may be. That's what I'm trying to, we're here to talk about is I just feel that the industry needs that with multiple folks that really lean into who they are, maybe blur some lines and that kind of stuff. I don't know, but I guess I'm also asking Conrad, and I went back 15 minutes ago. I said, is it even possible? I'm asking you. So that's kind of what we're kibitzing about, so to speak.
I think it is possible, but I think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely.
You think it's unlikely that a heel's gonna be breakout? Okay.
Well, I mean, here's what I mean. Like, they're running fewer live events. They're wrestling less matches. Whereas once upon a time you would pay to see that guy get beat up. Now they're hoping, since they can't really sell you more tickets because they're running fewer shows, they're probably hoping you'll buy more merch. And if you really hate the guy, you're not going to buy merch.
No.
But to me, a real test is, hey, if he's a real heel, does he have merch? Because back in the day, the bad guys didn't have a ton of merch.
So if you take a step back, and I probably need to finish my thought, like to really, I mean, to ingrain yourself into the audience is emotional bandwidth. It's that love-hate relationship. And when you hate someone really bad, when you flip the switch, that hate transfers over to love. And it had to happen every time. But I guess what I'm saying is they rise up as a big heel and you monetize them as a babyface when the time's right. But that, I guess where I'm going is, we're somewhat saying the same thing. But here, I guess, Conrad, you said, no, probably not going to happen. My thought process is that, yes, the business has evolved, but if you take a step back and walk into, let's just say, a writer's room in Hollywood, and they're tasked with writing for 20, whatever year it is. Next year, 2027. I know movies take a long time, but anyway, go out to Hollywood, Conrad, and you get into the writer's room and you say that these 10 rooms are going to produce the next 100 movies. And I'm going to go in the room and I'm going to give them a couple of rules to go by. But one of those rules is when you write these movies, you cannot create an antagonist, period. All right, go write you a movie. Are those movies going to be blockbusters? Or are we going to go back and say, man, you remember, and then fill in the blank of all your favorite movies? Because don't most of the most highest grossing films have a badass antagonist on some shape, form, or fashion?
Yeah, like Star Wars, Darth Vader. Every guy I know, his favorite Rocky movie is Rocky IV. Why is that? Ivan Drago is a great villain. Yes, it's all about the villain. I'm not arguing that at all. I just feel like,
I guess my point is, can you write a wrestling story without an antagonist?
Well, the thing is, I think, to your point, they are doing that now. They do have antagonists. Like, we know that Cody turned.
Yeah, and I'm not just go ahead.
Randy turned on Cody, and that's the WrestleMania story this year. So, hey, that makes sense. But I'm saying it was done in a way where I don't know that we really hate Randy, is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, no, hey, that music hits, Mania,
a big reaction.
Oh, everybody in the building will be singing his song,
and it'll be a great environment. But I'm just saying, it's not the same kind of heat. It's like in Mexico, when you're throwing tortillas at people, I don't think they're immediately going and saying, hey, let's see if we can give him some picture money after. I'm sure some of them are, but I'm saying your goal was to get them like fighting mad, not like to say, man, great job. You did a great job playing heel tonight.
I want
No,
them.
no, I fucking hate you. That's what
Well,
you wanted.
I mean, yes, that's a byproduct. What I really wanted them to do is be so damn happy that their guy beat me. That's the essence. Oh man, I got
But in order for them to be happy that he beat you, they have to first effing hate you.
I agree. I
So
agree.
let's make them effing hate me, and then let's have one of their favorites beat me up. Ta-da! See you next week at the event. I mean, that's the way it goes, and that's the way it's been going your whole life. And you're looking and feeling better than ever. And a lot of that is because of Mars Men.
Mhm.
You know, I got to admit, about 10 years ago, that 2 p.m. crash became my new normal. I didn't feel like that was supposed to happen in my mid 30s. What I started to do was get down an internet rabbit hole trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I started Googling stuff and I started learning about low T. Now, doctors will act like TRT is just no big deal. Hey, it's just a weekly shot for the rest of your life. No thanks. You dig deeper and you realize what you're actually signing up for. $3,000 a year to shut down your body's natural production forever. That's terrifying. And by the way, it could affect your fertility. At least that's what I read. What if I still want kids? Well, Mars Men, and I should mention, I think it's better than TRT, gives you the same benefits of optimized testosterone. You get energy, strength, focus, all without shutting your own body down. By the way, there's no synthetics, there's no needles, there's no dependency. Think of it like hitting the reset button on your hormone factory as opposed to just shutting it down. You've got real natural ingredients. I finally found something that gives me the benefits without the scary long-term stuff. Jeff's been rocking it for a while. He's looking and feeling better than ever. What you'll see is more consistent energy, stronger lifts, better focus. For me, it's more like a steady drive all day long, not that quick spike you might get from caffeine or an injection. By the way, Mars Men, made right here in the USA, third party tested, also comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. So there's no risk. Worst case scenario, you don't absolutely love it and you get your money back. But 91% of users have reported higher energy levels, and thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website and see for yourself. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com. You'll get 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. So, Jeff, we could talk about heat forever, but we did decide we were going to throw the keys to our audience this week and let them ask Jeff anything. And man, I got an interesting question right at the top of my feed today. Sean Soto says, what were your expectations for the first ever TNA Gut Check back in 2004? I was one of the three that showed up, LOL. I did end up winning, but it never really led to anything. I'm just curious what they expected. So I didn't even know you guys were doing gut checks back in 2004, Jeff. What can you tell me about this?
Oh, well, I'm looking for the question in our feed. Where was that at? It may just because it may jar a memory, but the whole premise, Conrad, was at the end of the day, how do we develop new talent?
It was in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Apologies for not remembering that. But Conrad, gut check. So I don't know when Tough Enough, and I may not even get the name of that program, but basically, how do we get a look? Because, man, when you think about 2004, Conrad, we're still just 2.5 years removed from WCW. The independent scene was just not, because look, God, we're in 2026, which blows my mind. So the people listening to this, you've got to be at least a 20-year fan of wrestling, or this doesn't even kind of register. But when you have the WWE and WCW both running 2 TV productions a week, a monthly pay-per-view, and house shows, wrestling from coast to coast. And sometimes, during that 90s, you had multiple towns running. So there was a lot of wrestling. So independent wrestling was nothing like it is today. But here we are, little TNA started. All right. Ring of Honor had started kind of the same time. They were running their shows, and independent wrestling was beginning to pop up, but we wanted to find talent. And again, 2004, I don't even think we're on Fox Sports Net. So I'd love to have my man. Did he find it on our website? So at the end of the day, it was kind of a part of the little engine that could, and we probably had a few pistons that didn't fire like we wanted it to. But it was just a talent developmental seminar. If we can find the right guy, we won't, and then turn him into a talent. That was the vision of it. Very difficult, but that was kind of the whole mindset behind it.
Interesting question here from Jay Martin. He wants to know, was there any plans for you to wrestle the last Nitro? Now we know you got fired by Vince McMahon on the last Nitro. Did you ever think you were going to have a match on that show?
No, never. I remember getting there, and when you understand who was getting the reins of everything, I did. My thought process was, they're going to probably put go back, and they're probably going to put champions on there, but they're going to put guys. Here's my immediate thought that they're going to have access to in the next week. Like, this is an opportunity to shoot an angle and be episodic in nature and deliver something on their airways immediately. I knew I wasn't a part of that at all. And there were several others that I didn't think so. Having a little nostalgia with Sting and Flair. But no, I didn't expect that at all.
You didn't expect it because you knew you had a contract and you weren't going to be letting it go?
Yes. I mean, there was no, and they certainly hadn't approached me, but there was no opportunity for me to be on WWE program the next week.
A great question here from Instagram, a wrestling historian, who says, Mr. Jarrett, you've talked before about protecting TNA's relationship with Spike TV. What's the story behind the reported Hard Rock Cafe incident with the Nasty Boys and company executives that led to them being fired?
Wrestling historian, you have asked that question before, and apologies, we never got to it. I think it was one of the last episodes we did, but I don't specifically remember the Nasty Boys Hard Rock Cafe. But if I had to hypothetically say one or both, my gut tells me Knobs had too much to drink, probably got pissed off at another patron there that evening, and it probably got a little loud, and probably had some folks had to be removed from the bar, and probably it could have spilled over into maybe a hotel room, and maybe somebody's hotel room, a wrestling hotel. I don't remember specifics. And he referenced the Spike relationship. I'm assuming because Spike executives stayed there. But no, it was the lack of a better phrase, typical Nasty Boys.
Big Ben Bishop says, is he pissed that my line was longer than his at Squared Circle Expo?
Big Ben. You know what, Conrad? That son of a bitch. I mean, he would not leave me alone. He photobombed, and he got my autograph twice. I think he bought, I'm not kidding, 1, 2, 3. I had 8 poses. I think he bought 4 of the 8, 2 figures, and then he actually something on consignment, Conrad. He got he said it wasn't for him, but then he said, hey man, do you mind signing this to Ben? It's a guy that I know. His name's Ben, which I didn't buy, but he's just hating on me because he tried to, hey man, can I get some freebies? Can I get some freebies? But that's how Big Ben is. That's how he rolls. But I took care of him best he could. And I will say this, he did pay cash. He didn't do Venmo, PayPal, or WhatsApp. So I was proud of him for that. But Ben's hard cash. So you indie shindy promoters out there, pay him good. He's got to get Double J memorabilia.
Friend of the show, Dustin Rhodes wants me to share a message. Tell him I am more outlaw than him.
Oh, that's fighting words.
What do you think? You guys are going to have an outlaw match in AEW?
Tell him if he don't behave, I'll put him a figure 4 on him, and that'll have a whole new meaning to those good knees. And I can't wait to see him and give him a big hug and maybe a ball shot like he's given me a few times in my career. But I'd love to. I can't wait to see him, man. I hope all is well. I really do, man. He, that brother went in deep with his rehab and surgeries and all that. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Mark Golden says, if some crazy billionaire started a promotion that's entirely traditional old school pro wrestling, no flippy diving Dave Meltzer high spot shit, but the old stuff, would it survive or thrive in today's market?
Be dead on arrival.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch that anymore. It's
Well,
evolved.
yeah, I mean, it's like, don't get me started on like the basketball analogy and the game of baseball, how they've sped that up, and the old school hockey fans. And I saw something posted the other day. Every generation. That's why I'm very grateful that when I go to the ring, and like in Rome, Conrad, what I did that night was present something differently. Now, if you saw 7 matches of the last Outlaw at 58 years of age, it ain't going to work. But the people were rocking and rolling, but the business evolved. It's more athletic. It's faster. Just things don't sit still. And I know there's an emotional attachment to this, and this, but sports evolve, TV evolves. That's something that I think about professional wrestling. I'm dying for the format to change. It has been the same since the 90s. But that being said, I'd love to have that opportunity one day, but things evolve. You got to move.
Great question here from Francis, who wants to know, are there any countries or places you've not yet wrestled that you'd still like the chance to? So that's interesting. Are there any bucket list countries or venues or towns where you think, man, I've never done that, and I'd really like to, before I hang them up, wrestle blank?
There is, some folks I've been to church with or go to church with, just kind of in the community. Conrad, when I, in my travels at airports and not long ago in a Delta Club in Salt Lake, just different things. You'd be amazed at how many people that come up that are from the continent of Africa. Yes, I watched this and watched this. So I've never wrestled in South Africa, but there are different countries all throughout that I've never got to wrestle. I don't know if you've ever seen the footage from the old days of the wrestling in Argentina. So South America, I've never got to wrestle. So I would love to wrestle in South America and at the continent of Africa as well. Don't really have a hankering to go to Russia, maybe China someday, but off the top of my head, the continent of Africa and South America as well.
Road Dog, friend of the show, asked a question. I want to know about the banjo player from Deliverance. What can you tell us here?
I'm not buying this. You ain't got questions from Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not buying it. You know what? Tell you what, Conrad, before we got on the air, you were late as usual. And I sent our crack shot producer, Mr. Dave Silva, yesterday in Syracuse, New York. We were doing our signing. And if you've ever seen that scene out of Deliverance where there's a young man sitting on the front porch and picking his banjo, I was always a fan of that movie. I remember watching it on my dad's couch. Him and stepmom Deborah were going out for the evening, and I was quasi babysitting Jennifer and Jason. But I popped that movie in. A little scary as a young man, but watched it. But Brian enlightened me yesterday that I can't believe they do this in Hollywood. I know we did it in professional wrestling and Brian lip sync, but they also kind of had a stand in and somebody else played that. But I met the gentleman yesterday and I said, man, how did you get cast for that role in Deliverance? He said, there he is. And literally the gentleman, the producers in Georgia came to his school and were looking for extras. And that's it's crazy, man. He filled in, signed up as an extra, and here he is, 50 years later, Syracuse, New York, and doing a Comic-Con, signing autographs and taking pictures like the Road Dog and the Last Outlaw. And there is the gentleman in between us.
Well, how about that?
How about that, Connie? How about that?
That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. I mean,
friend of the show, Scott Armstrong, writes in,
I'm not buying this at all.
Can I borrow a 20? So I don't know if
I
if you're able to help him with that, I didn't know you were in the loan business, but Scott Armstrong is looking for a $20 loan. I would trade $20 for some of his biscuits. Have you had him make you biscuits before?
Buddy, he used to post breakfast.
It's hard to beat.
I'm telling you, you know what? That James gang, they've all kind of, Mama Gail and Pep, they raise them boys right, because Scotty can cook, Brian can sing. God rest Brad. He could probably he could be the stand-up comedian out of the funny. And Stevie just be the bouncer. If he didn't laugh or like the food, or complained about Brian singing, Stevie's just going to beat your ass. So they kind of had the full-blown entertainment game all wrapped in one.
In an alternate universe, can you imagine if the timing was different?
Oh,
how badass that crew would have been as a faction in WCW or ECW or TNA or any of that.
Called the James Gang.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. You know what? It'd be interesting because Brian, you got to give it to him out of that group. Now, Pep can talk, but all of them can talk. I mean,
what's Pep?
Oh, my bad. You don't know who Pep is, do you? Pep is Daddy. The Bullet. Why do I call him? I'm not the only one calling him Paul. He's been called Pep. So, man, Scotty, Brian, help me out here. But anyway, Pep is what I've always, Mama Gail, and Pep. Pep was his name. And man, Brian showed me a picture of him in Georgia wrestling that somebody had sent him.
Yoked out of his head, man.
Huh?
He was an action figure.
Yeah.
I mean, just yoked. I mean, like, what's going on? How is he built like this?
Old Pep stayed in the gym.
You could tell.
Oh, yes, sir. Which is so cool to me. Yes. Very inspiring.
He was one of those guys who, enjoyed his quality of life and didn't want to travel. Cause it does feel like if he hit the territories more, man, he would have been an even bigger star.
You know, I've said this, the James Gang, I don't want it sounds this, I don't want this to be, because I tell them and hug them and said this, they're wired differently, priorities, mentality. Bob, years ago, he's a Columbus, Georgia, but you know, he got wired in, and Gulf Breeze is where they made home, and all of them stayed around there. And that was his priority, to raise his kids in school. Bullet Bob, you know, literally to the day, his last days, he had his routine, get up, eat a little bit, go to the gym. That was just his way of life. So that was the mentality. And I think him and Mama Gail passed that down to the kids. I just think that's how they're wired.
Well, I'll tell you how we can help Scott Armstrong out. We can't slide him a 20 through our podcast. We can hook him up with a deal with our friends at Ridge. I got to tell you, Ridge has absolutely changed my deal. You know what, Silva, just show me on camera here. Check this out. The phone I'm using to read the questions today. This is a Ridge wallet, and check out how cool this is. It just attaches, right? That's a Ridge phone case for my iPhone here. I'm reading the Twitter questions right here, but check this out, dude. Like that is stable. That is sturdy. This is the best I've ever had. I'm a big Ridge user, and I don't want you to just take my word for it. This has been an absolute game changer for me. Now, instead of carrying around a wallet and carrying around a phone case, I made them all work together here. Now, maybe that doesn't work for you, but if it does, Ridge can hook you up. But have you heard about the Ridge 2.0? Like, let me just tell you, that giant crusty leather brick you're sitting on that's falling apart, it's messing up your lower back. You're sitting unevenly, and it's just ready for the garbage can, man. You already know about Ridge for their unique, slim, modern wallets, but the Ridge 2.0 is an even more refined version of the Ridge wallet. They've been perfecting this dude for like 12 years, and everything's better with the Ridge 2.0. It's 10% lighter. That's right. It's lighter. And it's even more modular with improved cash straps, money clips, even AirTag attachments. It's always made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. You just saw mine on carbon fiber. Well, check this out. The Ridge 2.0 will hold up to 12 cards plus your cash. They've got over 50 colors and styles to choose from. They've got a wallet for every NFL, Major League Baseball, and even college team. They also have a brand new built for life warranty. This is industry leading. So even if your wallet is lost or stolen, they've got you covered. And you get peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology. It's going to keep you safe from those digital pickpocketers. Losing your wallet, it's like the worst, most helpless feeling in the world. But with the Ridge tracker card, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode ever kicks in. Now, you don't just have to take mine and Jeff's word for this. Ridge, man, these guys have over 100,000 5-star reviews. That is proof positive that Ridge is a gift that people love to receive. Not just about wallets. You saw my phone case. They got lots of other cool stuff too, like key cases. Hey, they've even got power banks and suitcases. But right now, Ridge is having their once a year anniversary sale. Head on over to ridge.com and you could get up to 40% off. That's right, up to 40% off at ridge.com. After you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. So make sure you tell them about our show. That's ridge.com, and be sure to use that 40% off sale right now. Ridge.com. So Jeff, we saw a picture of you and the Deliverance guy with Road Dogg. What a fun sentence that is. But I think you've got some other fun photos from over the weekend. You want to do a little show and tell here?
Oh, I don't know who we're going to bring up first, but it was a fun time. I just hope and pray. Oh God. No, Silva, no, I'll get myself in trouble. There he is. None other, Connie, than Hornswoggle. His kid came over, and very nice gentleman, but always have a lot of fun with Dylan. We do. We laugh and cut up, and Karen ends up, she wasn't with me this weekend, but she always ends up saying, "You're mean. You're not nice. You're not mean." I said, "Well, a little bastard ain't very nice to me either." But no, we have a great relationship. Always a lot of fun hanging out with him, and it was good to see him. And look at that cheesy ass smile he's got on, Conrad. Just look at that mug. It's like a meme, isn't it?
It is a meme. We should make that that should be a piece of merch. We should do that.
Oh, hilarious. No, a lot of fun, Dylan. So, all right. You a movie buff, Connie?
I am.
All right. Watch any Johnny Depp movies?
Never on purpose.
Yep. Okay. That answer that. That is my new friend right there, Marty of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Met that fine gentleman. We had a good time laughing, cut up, and he was on my, Conrad, you would have loved this. It's one of those travel stories that happened around. I literally met him yesterday morning. Brian knew him. And then his wife, he told me a cool story. He met her and he robbed the cradle, and he's older than her, but she lives in Maryville, Tennessee. And he said, yeah, she pronounces it Maryville. I said, yeah, Maryville, it's the same thing. But anyway, Marty's a good dude. And we laughed and cut up in between signings and all that. And then sure enough, me and Brian and our group, we left and ended up at the airport. Marty through security, here he comes, and we're getting on the plane at the same time. So I walked up behind him and kicked his bag over and this and that. We laughed and cut up. And then we get down there right before we get on the plane. He tells the stewardess as we're getting on, he said, my effing, and he didn't say effing, but he said, wife is behind me and she's driving me absolutely bananas. Will you tell her to wait? Let me get on board, get my bag. And he pointed at me and then walked down the aisle. So you have to kind of understand the boarding process, but we laughed and cut up. And anyhow, that's my friend, Marty, Pirates of the Caribbean. And
let me ask you, Jeff, did you meet any full-size humans yesterday? Any grown adult humans?
Over the weekend,
was it just little people on? Were you at a convention? What happened?
So Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis was Saturday.
They had a little people section.
Anyway, I hit it off with them little fellas. Anyway, we had a great time. But I will say this: I took a bunch of pictures, but I sent Silva just a couple of them. But there's my favorite picture of the weekend. And Conrad, I want you to take a good look at that. You're going to be a little bit off guard, but if you look in the far right, my man had on a Tracy Smothers shirt. But anyway, it was great to see Muda and Chono, and of course our buddy Sonny Ono. It was really cool to see those guys, and Man, oh man. A fun little fact: Chono went to the David Woods territory. Conrad, he went to Alabama about the same time Hashimoto came to Tennessee, and so I think Muda was in Dallas maybe a little before, but anyway, during that era. But anyway, Muda, I went over, what was that, 15, 16, had a match with him at Corkin. But anyway, a lot of fun, man. Good seeing those guys. So much history. They did, the NWO kind of was their theme of the weekend. Boy, oh boy, they did some business, but a lot of cool, man. It was just a lot of fun to be with those guys and catch up with them for a minute. So that's a pretty cool photo for me.
Fun question here from Diamond J Game Master. Why did you stop using the second rope drop kick as a finisher? Could you one day pass it down to a younger talent like Mr. Miyagi's crane kick? That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Why did I stop using it? I don't know. That was a babyface deal. I think the most simplistic deal was, I remember, that was my man, Akio Sato. He asked me one night, can you do the drop kick? Cause he liked my drop kick. And that was, that I was really developing that and all that. He said, let's try one off the second. And we tried one. He's like, oh man, now in 86, Conrad, 87, drop kick off the second was a lot bigger bump than it is today. And so I think it was my old man, him and Sato, and he's like, hey man, start doing that as your finish. So I used that for a few years as my finish on Memphis TV. And then obviously it's a babyface finish. And when I went to WWE, that was I was out the window as far as using it as a finish.
Jacob wants to know, what was Jeff's favorite ride at Universal Orlando to sneak off to when TNA was taping there? Did you have a favorite ride?
So Conrad, when we first went there, the Rock and Roller Coaster was not built. It was, just not built. And then they started kind of laying the groundwork, and it's like literally right next to Soundstage 21. And they built this amphitheater, and they were really doing, but man, when we got there, there's so much been done to that park, Conrad. So, we got there 05 and to what it is now. I can remember hearing the conversations about Harry Potter going to be, put in, and the high hopes and the expectations and projections. And then I think it was maybe year one or year two. And Conrad, I don't know how well you know the finance story, but literally it changed that entire company's bottom line when that first got going, as far as the flux of revenue is crazy. The park went, massive deal, and they put stuff on into both parks, and so you had to buy double tickets, and just the fan base. Oh, J.K. Rowling knew what she was doing. But the Rock and Roller Coaster was built. I literally saw it, week by week being put up, and then when we got it, and there was a little piece that we did with the family, with me and Karen on Impact. The kids rode it and all that. But anyway, it's a cool roller coaster ride. That's probably, man. Me and Jay Lethal's a big park guy, so he knows all the rides. There's a couple of cool Harry Potter rides. The Hulk is up there, but I'm a rock and roller coaster guy. You get to pick your own music and then roll off through it.
We got a question here from Matt Wood. Did Owen Hart pull any ribs on him? Got any good Owen Hart rib stories?
Pull on me?
Mm-hmm.
I told one this weekend during a panel that I forgot. But Owen, it was a byproduct of a. If you'll be telling a rib story, because I forgot about it, kind of the detail of it. But Owen, he was notorious for riding shotgun, get in there, and little by little riding down the road. If it's the summertime, and 85, 90 degrees outside, Owen would casually be riding along and put it on heat. And then he'd start at 72 and he'd go to 75 and 78. And he would get it up there on maximum heat, but not the fan blowing real high. He just wanted to get good and toasty. And then he'd slowly kick up the fan. For long, you're just roasted. Well, we're riding along, and people began to kind of catch on if you'd rode with Owen a couple of times. And so, nope, I'm not going to do it. Nope. And Owen would kept doing it. And you'd have that banner and be pissed off and be pissed off and be pissed off. And Owen wouldn't let it do it. But then Owen, as his backup, it just kind of, all of Owen's stuff, most of the time was kind of spontaneous. And I say this, they weren't mean spirited, but they were very entertaining. And Conrad, so we pull into a drive-through, and of course, Owen has the guy riled up, and they're bickering back and forth. And Matt Miller, Manny, I forget his last name. There was just different folks that Owen, whoever it was. But again, as they pull in, going into the drive-through, Owen says, "No, we got to go in. No, we got to go in. No, it's the line's too long. No, we're going in. We all got to use the bathroom." So Owen let everybody go in, and the guy's mad driving the car. And so when he went in, he went over the driver's side, the old seat deal where you push the seat up as far as it'll go. You take the steering wheel down and pull it all the way down. Back in those days, you could crank the radio loud, windshield wipers on, do everything, screw all the mirrors up and everything. So you got to readjust it. Just completely do everything that you could possibly control. So when the guy gets back in, you're all screwed up. It's a complete wreck. So Owen goes in, and this one is a Wendy's. I do remember because it zigzagged and it was kind of crowded. So Owen, of course, goes in, and all of us are slowly but waiting one by one to do the order. And Owen walks around and he goes over the drink thing, and then he picks his spot right when the lady finishes taking an order. He slides right up and he says, "Ma'am, I'm in a big hurry. These guys don't mind. I'm going to go first." And he gets the order, makes his order, and, "Hey guys, will you buy something? Put this on their tab." But there's a couple of people we don't know in front of it. So Owen just calls it a massive scene, uncomfortable. Everybody's just kind of looking. And so Owen will make a peculiar order. I want everything, but no cheese, no onion. Anyway, so makes it, comes out. Owen's open it at the counter, and he's like, "I've kind of changed my mind, and I'm sorry. Can you put onion on this?" Just trying to completely lock down the fast food where everybody wants to kill him. So he does this one or two times. "Hey, I don't know if that's actually enough onion." The little nuances, it would go on and on and on. Well, then Owen would make sure that he was like, "All right, let's go, guys. We got to hurry. We got to hurry. We got to hurry." And he's hurrying it up. So he would have the guy driving ready to kill him, and it's taken forever. And so by the time they get out there, Owen starts asking for the keys. "No, I'm not giving you the keys." "I know. Nope. Give me the keys." Owen's like, "I want to go eat my food in where it's cool in the air conditioned. I don't want to stand in this restaurant." So the guy, thinking he's being smart, "Nope. All right, let's hurry." So go through the whole deal, and Owen's got everybody ready to kill him. And Owen goes out to the car, and he's standing on, the passenger side, banging on the hood. "Let's go, let's go, let's go. Get in here." And of course, he's like, "Get in there. Come on." Anyway, guy goes to get the passenger side, steering wheel, so that, he can't get in, and he's all messed up. Anyway, that's kind of the end of the rib. But Owen has this unique way, and me and Brian were talking about this yesterday. You wanted to kill him, but you just really couldn't. But Owen in drive-throughs, it was a comedy scene, but you really wanted to kill him. But those were some of the funnest times of my life, because harmless, but boy, oh boy, if you got the right guy who hadn't been around Owen, he would eat their lunch.
Fun one here from
Glad you enjoyed it.
He wants to know, I have a Jeff Kurt question, but this is more important. I'm 54 and I have a 12-year-old autistic son, and I'm his caretaker. What can he say? What would his father say about a tough situation? So here's a dad looking for some advice on raising a boy with autism. And we know that has certainly been something that you and Karen and the rest of the family have had to learn as you went with young Cody. Do you have some wisdom you can drop on a fellow wrestling fan?
Man, oh man, I'd love to talk offline, because every day is truly a gift, a learning experience. I have learned, I'm not a patient person, but I think God gives us opportunities to uh, get rid of some bad character defects and grow some new ones, and patience and love and tolerance. But man, oh man, it is the greatest gift in the world. I just can't even describe it, because um, the perspective that folks in your life that can give you, if you just open your eyes. Um, there is a very simple word that is often, and I overlooked it for 50 years, but it will radically change your life, and that's gratitude. Um, and you can't just say it, or you really have to process it. But at the end of the day, what I think more than anything I've learned, there really are no right answers and no wrong answers. It's just you have to live it and experience it, and love them, and they'll love you. And look, it's a real deep subject. So I hate to almost just flippantly make it one of 40 questions I'm talking about on an episode of My World. I just don't think it does it justice enough. But kind of, you asked me, so I'll say, you have a gift, and so that comes from our Creator, and treat the situation as such.
Joseph, I want to encourage you to DM your email address to us on Twitter and reference your question here, and I'll make sure that we communicate that email to Jeff, and you guys can continue that conversation. That's pretty cool of you, Jeff. Billy says, when your time is up, what will be your legacy? What will be the thing that people point to in describing your career? Will it be TNA, do you think?
You know what? It's truly not for me to decide or determine.
Well, let me ask you this. When you do a meet and greet, like you did this past weekend at Squared Circle Expo, I'm sure as people approach your table, and I'm not trying to diminish your career to a handful of moments, but almost every wrestler I've ever talked to, they say, hey, and invariably, when somebody comes to my table, they always bring up X, Y, or Z. What are like the top 3 or the top 5 things that fans always mention to you? You know, whether it's a match or a moment or a promotion or an angle or a title win, there's got to be something that people always sort of say, hey, what are those things?
I'm trying to think of 3 at the very top. I mean, I will, like, I'm just thinking over this weekend. Connie, I don't know what your thought will be on this. I'll say this: has been and I know it's the most recent, so I get that. There have there have been a lot of folks that have enjoyed um, the last 2 or 3 years, whether it's Ric Flair last match, whether it's Adam Hangman Page, whether it's contrary to popular belief, a lot of people did enjoy the interaction I had with MJF early last year. Ask what, didn't go anywhere, but they did ask about it. But the Hangman Page, the Orange Cassidy, the Wembley. So I'll just say the last couple of years people have enjoyed. The TNA, the common thread that I heard a bunch over the weekend was, man, oh man, you opened my eyes to wrestling that I didn't think exist. I grew up in my house in the WWE, and that's because there was no WCW, that we didn't know anything else. And when we saw blah, 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 blah on Spike TV, man, oh man, that. And then Conrad, I got a new figure out that it's been a long time coming. Zombie put out this figure, and it's in one of my colorful Double J outfits.
I might be one of your best figures ever, just based on the gear, don't you think?
Buddy, and I'm just not, you know me, I'm not a figure guy, but when Cardona texts me a picture of it and just puts 3 letters underneath it, art. But I did, a ton of people came up and had them and signed, and they just got delivered last week. I bet I don't know, signed 30 or 40 of them. But a guy in Syracuse yesterday went on eBay and looked, and man, oh man, they're up there, bud. You can get your money back. I actually told him our kind of story that Conrad, I never looked at baseball cards, and I know you do watches and people do figures, but I always, just because I grew up in it, and Cody used to have bathtub fulls of figures, but this one guy's got his man cave, and he showed me his man cave, and he wanted me to sign it, and he's like, "This is where I'm going to put it," and he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, what do you think that thing's worth?" He said, "When you sign it, I'll quadruple my money." And I'm just like, it might not be looked at as an investment, but if you were missing a truck payment, you could throw your stuff on eBay and more than get your money back. So, but back to answer your question, I think it's the Double J arriving on the scene at WWE. I'll call it 95. The contributions at TNA, I think more so it's equal in and out of the ring, and then my last AEW. But when you say legacy, I don't know. That's up for others to decide.
I think it's going to be TNA.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah. Interesting.
Peter Porker. What a great question.
Okay.
Great name. He says, "Hey Jeff, is that retirement run still a thing? Hashtag AEW. What's the latest, Jeff? The rumor and innuendo is that they were going to make the main event of Dynasty a 3-way dance, and you were walking out 10 pounds heavier. That's what I heard."
I think that's innuendo. Maybe not rumor. I think it's innuendo.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know you're going to be at the pay-per-view.
Yes, sir.
And I know that you always bring your gear just in case.
That's right.
So I'm just saying, hypothetically, if they needed somebody with some real star power in that main event, you'd strut that ass right down to the ring, wouldn't you?
Well, look, those guys they're methodical, and I don't know, with my speed and where I'm at today in my game, I wouldn't want to. I'm in a different gear now, Connie. You're
running circles around these kids in the gym.
I had a hell of a workout this morning. I'll tell you that much. I felt great. Corey, my trainer, said, "Damn, dude, you're ready to go." I said, "You ain't kidding, bud. Lot in front of me this week, so I got to get my head right."
Let's make sure we got our head right too. We want to brag about our sponsor, Stopbox. If you're not already in the loop, hey, you ought to be. Let me go ahead and tell you right now. If you own a handgun, you already know that self-defense comes with a serious responsibility. Here's the deal. You need it secure, but you also, most importantly, need it accessible when it matters most. And too often that means you've got to choose between locking it away or leaving it out, which means now it's vulnerable to kids or guests or intruders. And that is exactly the problem that Stopbox USA set out to solve. I think they nailed it with the Stopbox Pro. It's 100% mechanical, keyless, battery-free lockbox that gives you instant controlled access to your firearm with no electronics, no keys, and no codes required. That's right. No keys, no codes, no apps, just a patented 5-button locking system that responds only to your unique input. It's fast. It's intuitive. It's built for muscle memory. So you're not thinking, you're reacting. And when seconds matter, that makes all the difference. With the Stopbox Pro, you don't have to trade safety for speed or peace of mind for readiness. Your firearm stays secure, but always within reach. By the way, you should know the Stopbox Pro is also TSA compliant. Right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off at Stopbox when they use the promo code Jarrett10 at checkout. Just head on over to stopboxusa.com, use the promo code Jarrett10, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Now, after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Jeff, we got another question here from Bub Triangle. He says, hooked on wrestling in 02, discovered WCW, and nothing has ever topped it. From Joshi, Lucha, Hero, death matches, and everything in between. I love it all, but WCW is the best there ever was. And Jeff is the final flag bearer for the Southern style of wrestling. God bless him. Is it just me, or does it feel like we're getting more? And I know some of this is because this is the 25-year anniversary, but it feels like more people are talking about WCW than they have in a long time. Don't you think?
I could not agree more. I always, Conrad, at my table, whoever the promoter vendor brings me in, I've got a Hall of Fame picture, I got an AEW picture. I'm trying to think of the different ones, but there was a simple guitar shot, my WCW slap nuts type deal. I sold as more as those as any, and it's like, hey man, and it's always, oh Conrad, there was a great 8x10 of the hall scene of me and Beetlejuice. I signed several of those. But yes, I agree, and it's almost kind of back to Conrad. What is that number of the online wrestling audience that ebbs and flows, and why does it ebb and flow, and what is the size of it? All those different questions are it's hard to quantify. But let me ask you, I agree, but why? Is it just because of the 25-year anniversary? I'm going to say, well, I hate to say, I just don't think it's that, but maybe it
I
is.
don't either. I don't either. I don't know what it is though, but it does feel like it's more rampant than ever.
Do you know? I would say the 2000s. Man, there was there was a there was a mom and a son that came to the signing, and she really was a Double J fan.
Oh,
Okay, hold on. And her son was a Double J fan, but on TNA, and all through essentially YouTube was his fandom. Which it's just, is it, I don't know, man. The ability to go back and watch the archival stuff, I don't know. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. And kids today, I call them kids, 20 millennials, 20 something. Like when you kind of hear their playlist, Conrad, you'll hear a lot of music that was first on the charts either before they were born or like when they're 3, 4, 5 years of age, but like stuff from 20 years ago.
yeah. Adam Priest. I learned that from riding with Adam Priest. We made a town for 1FW together, and it was on like a throwback hip hop station. And he knew all the songs from when I was younger. Like he was not alive or like not in school, and he knew all the words.
So I mean, I think, hey, Jeff, it's just the evolution. When you were a kid, you didn't have the ability to have 2000, Steve Jobs changed the world. Me and you growing up, and I'm older than you is, hell, it's cassette. In the early days, you didn't have the ability to have all that stuff. And I don't know. It is interesting how it really resonates with some kids, music that was around before they were born.
Bradley Rice wants to know, was there some memorabilia your family discovered after your dad passed? More specifically, anything y'all didn't know he kept? That's a great question, Jeff.
Buddy, I was just who? Bradley? I think I caught that name. Bradley, here's what I'm going to tell you as sincere as possible. Stay tuned to this podcast, because myself and Conrad and a team, we are going to unearth, and we've already shot some content that you will not believe. I call this almost out of thin air, a piece of memorabilia that not only did I not think existed, I don't think my stepmom, Deborah, thought existed. And that led us into going to her house and looking at some things that this isn't really wrestling memorabilia, but you never know. And my dad at times would go through phases. I don't know what the opposite of a hoarder would be. He'd throw away everything. I mean, hell, he threw away Masters of Memphis Wrestling. So he ebbed and flowed on what he kept and did get. But he literally kept a pair of his baby shoes. So Bradley, we're creating content that is going to be, I'll call it a deep dive. It's not going to be weekly topical content, but it's going to be some history of Nashville, some history of my family, history of USWA, history of TNA, my history, my dad's history, my grandmother's history. We're going to be doing some deep dive on some stuff, but there is a piece of memorabilia that we unearthed that freaking amazing, absolutely amazing. Conrad, speaking of that, you know our buddy Tim Jameson.
Oh man, what a setup he had for the ring worn at Squared Circle Expo, huh?
Did you see the video?
I have, yeah. He loaned he's loaned us stuff before for Starcast, and I've been after him for years to do it. I'm glad he finally did it at Squared Circle Expo. I thought it looked terrific.
I went in there and I was out the door headed to the airport, and I'm like, oh shit, there it is. It was, this. So I went in there and looked quickly, and I got a photo and all this kind of stuff. But Conrad, we need to talk offline, because as a wrestling fan, and not even a wrestler, I mean, shit, Conrad, you already know all this stuff, but I'm sharing it with my world listeners. Randy Macho Man Savage, Ric Flair, Bret Hart, DDP. He's got my a pair of Double J tights and full things.
Evan Nash, Razor, on and on and on.
Yeah, in the full display and all this, it is like a traveling kind of museum. And Brett, Kevin, myself, there's something there, Conrad, because like you travel that, I'll call it kind of city to city. And I know we can't go to, a big 50-day tour or anything like that, but I'm saying in the right places and figure out how to transport it and up and down. And I know Starcast, you said you borrowed some things. There's something there that I just think it's a real opportunity. I mean, I was blown away, and I literally was on the way to the airport. Well, Conrad, I called you right after it. I'm surprised I forgot we were talking business stuff, but yeah, it's a very, very cool exhibit, and it's the first time we ever did it. I think there's something there that we ought to put our heads together, Connie.
Shoot Slam wants to know, does he wish he had gotten the match with MJF? We were so close to it when it went completely out of the window and never happened. What do you think? You still going to whip MJF's ass one day?
I will whip his ass if I ever get the opportunity. And here's how I'm well aware. He knows he'll take an ass whipping from me. He knows it. I'll just leave it at that. He knew it then, and he knows it now.
I have Grit wants to know what inspired him to do guitar shots. We never really talked about that. What was the inspiration for that? Was it Honky Tonk and Jake on the Snake Pit back in the day, or was it something else?
It has been used, like Billy Travis used it. Obviously Honky used it. The Don't Piss Me Off character came along and a weapon. So there's obviously a little bit of inspiration there. And Russo and Ed Ferrar and Vince McMahon, and I'll call it WWE creative at the time. The one thing that I just think because we could talk about it on a bunch of different angles, but I named in Tennessee, we had all kind of coal miners on the glove, guitar on a pole, coal miner glove on a pole match, guitar. We had all kind of different stipulations, a weapon, different things, all this. So it's kind of been different iterations. Billy also did it out in Texas. I can't say it. I don't know, you probably, I don't know, the 70s, did somebody in the 70s in territory? But anyway, as it went along, but I really think when I think on how did this like really resonate, I'm going to go to the Moolah guitar shot. When that was laid out, and for the time, and yes, the Attitude Era, and we had done a bunch of different things, but I'd love to kind of see a chronological graph, if you will, but man on woman violence, if you will. But it was, I think, at the right time, at the right place, with the right setting, with the right talent. I mean, the Fabulous Moolah, every time she'd walk down the ramp or whatever it may be, I mean, she's multi-time champion. She is the original OG of women's professional wrestling. And then you kind of see the segue, as life happened, and um, really Owen's passing, which obviously we were planned on getting back together with the team, and then his accident, and then kind of one thing led to another, and then China's timing, and I wrestle her, and so that. But anyway, just the guitar shot on Moolah, Conrad. Um, I've often thought that, did that really kickstart it? Because, obviously we can talk about WCW, and I used it too much there. And then, you kind of get into Gary Coleman's and all, Beetlejuice and whatever it may be. But then you get into the TNA days and King of the Mountain and kind of how we position that. It just kind of kept going. But I think back to what really, as it related to Jeff Jarrett and the guitar, I think if you remove the Moolah guitar shot, I don't think the impact. Nash and we've chuckled about this. Nash was working for WCW, and so when he saw the Moolah guitar shot, it's hard to get Kevin to really put something over. He's like, son of a bitch. It was good. The timing was right. The audience was right. The era was right. It just impacted well. So. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on how did that guitar shot really become one of my signatures. I think it kind of started with Moolah.
Hey, I was just thinking as you were talking about the audience right there. I don't know why it clicked, but it made me think about what we were talking about earlier about playing a character, in any other scripted reality show. And, maybe it was almost an insinuation. I feel like that at times, maybe the performers themselves are hesitant to not look cool. Maybe they don't want to be embarrassed. I don't know. But I think, just maybe that's part of the fun of the separation of church and state of pro wrestling. This is the wrestling character. This is the real guy. And maybe we're getting them too connected. Somebody who recently went the other way was Leo Rush. Did you see his presentation? It got a ton of impressions online, like 20 million immediately. And I know that there's a lot of people who had a negative opinion, and some people were clowning on it, but I thought, hey, it's getting attention. It's different than.
Yes.
Where do you land on it?
The Leo, I'd have to see a picture. I've just seen the contacts, but the uniqueness, it's like
he runs around on all fours, Jeff.
Oh yeah. I've seen all that. Okay. So I thought you meant more than the look, but the thing that I think is, oh God, I try to do my best not to, but it's just who I am and how I've looked that, if you want to, your presentation, dress like a mark, you're going to end up sitting with the marks. Elvis in his jumpsuits, whether he's skinny or fat, he looked like a star standing on stage. And what does a star look like these days? I think it has always evolved over time, but you got it a little different. But when like Toby Keith, an athlete, good old country boy, but he liked his flip flops. He liked to go to Mexico. But for the most part, when he went on stage, he looked like a badass American singer-songwriter. So in music, the Jimmy Buffett kind of beach guy, and then Kenny Chesney got that. So it happens in music. It happens, just the look of everybody. So you got to be able to stand out somehow, some way. And I just think that, and I didn't know where you were going with your comment, the Leo thing. Yeah, you got to stand out. Yeah, you got to look different. But you got to resonate with your audience somehow, some way. And if you just look average, I don't comprehend that mindset that you're as a professional wrestler, your goal is to create an IP where promoters want to book you. Why do they want to book you? They can monetize you. So your end goal is to create an IP, which is walking, talking, look, wrestling, social media, all the above. What is this IP worth? Why do guys think their IP is monetizable and they don't go to the gym and they don't get gear that looks cool and they don't do social media and they don't do this and don't do that? It's a head scratcher to me, Connie, a real head scratcher to me. But I'll stay on my side of the street. It's not my responsibility. But hats off to Leo. I told him, that's the dude. The eyes look great. I walked by him in the hall and told him that.
If you think you know pro wrestling, you might want to think again, because there's a new podcast heat show that looks at wrestling in a way you've probably never heard before. It's called Wrestling on the Spectrum, hosted by my buddy Brody Herman. Brody sees wrestling differently, literally. As a person on the spectrum, his mind processes patterns, storytelling, wrestling psychology, and wrestling history in a way that most fans simply don't. And when Brody starts talking about wrestling, you realize just how much you may have missed. Brody connects the dots between eras, wrestlers, and storylines with a level of knowledge that surprises even the most hardcore fans. Alongside Brody is a cast of lifelong wrestling fans who bring different perspectives to the conversation. How about my man Flying Ryan Swingler? He presents the generation that grew up when wrestling got ruthless. And what about Tony Patrico? He brings the voice of the Attitude Era fan. Together, they dive deep into wrestling history, current events, and the psychology behind the sport. And what really makes the show special is hearing how Brody's mind processes professional wrestling, the patterns he sees, the connections he makes, and the incredible knowledge he brings to every episode. For wrestling fans, it's fascinating. And for anyone who loves storytelling and the history of professional wrestling, it's hard to stop listening. Wrestling on the Spectrum, a different perspective on the wrestling business. New episodes are available each Saturday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the show on Instagram at Wrestling on the Spectrum or on Twitter at Wrestling OTS. Wrestling on the Spectrum each Saturday on YouTube. GB wants to know, what was Jeff's favorite attire during his first run with WWE?
Well, I wore the straps. I can't say I had any one particular one. I tried to keep as many multicolors. And again, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, was a country music singer that was pissed off at Nashville, that was going to go take over the WWF and then come back to Nashville, his hometown, and then rename the WWF along the way and call it the Double JF. But then his ultimate goal was to come back home and take over country music. And so I had that kind of look or thought that I need to be this flamboyant, if you will, country music guy. And so I didn't really have any particular one favorite outfit. The one that Zombie put together, that outfit obviously resonated. And here we are 30 years later talking about it because people like that figure and that look. I don't know.
Really fun question here from the Real Pro Wrestling Friend. He says he's from Nashville, so I'd like to ask him who has the best hot chicken in town, Hattie B's or Prince's?
Hattie B's. Yeah, they're both great. They're both.
You're talking OG location though. You don't mean the tourist shit downtown, right?
Or the airport.
Yeah. Thinking Man Sports. What a great question this is. If 1987 Jeff time traveled to today, what are 3 things that would surprise him most about the current state of the wrestling industry?
Gotta, you trying to get me in trouble?
Well, I mean, I would think it might be, I'm not even kidding when I say this, that Vince McMahon is no longer involved in the business at all.
Oh, I got you. Personnel wise.
No, it could be whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just the 3 things, but I would think on the heels of WrestleMania 3, if you were to be like, hey, in the future, this company exists, but that guy's not involved, you'd be like, what?
Well,
or that some people viewed Hulk Hogan as a heel.
Well, in 87, here's where I'll go with my thing. I'm going to Ripley, Mississippi and Jackson, Tennessee and small shows. And hey, man, we're not going to run a show this Sunday. Why not? Oh, Vince, as we used to refer to it, New York, Vince in New York. You didn't call it the WWE. You didn't call it the Carney bullshit, the Fed. It was New York or Vince. Vince is running his big show on Sunday. Oh, what's that? Oh, WrestleMania, it's called that. Oh, how many are they going to have this week? Oh, they're going to say 92,000 or something like that. But, you know, the real ticket count 70. We didn't give a shit about that. But I mean, he's running the big show and it's a stadium show. So Conrad, knowing in 87 that I'm about to get in the car and I'm going to go 300 miles down the road and I'm going to have my 4x6 and 8x10 and there's going to be a Polaroid and I'm going to have at least the ability to take 100 pictures at $10 a pop or whatever it is. So that's my finances. So I'm going to go try to make $300, $400, $500 and in 87. But at the exact same time, they're running a stadium show. I would have said, folks, this business is expanding. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So Vince not being a part of the business in reality, I don't think it's huge. I think his fundamental promoter, I think he's going to be missed more and more. His foundation, his mindset, every day he's not around, I think people are going to kind of understand his wisdom and mindset. But I think the ability to have athletes and actors have the desire to make this their full-time living. 87, Jeff would have not thought that, because I always thought that we were this anomaly that, you know, the best athletes in the world, they go do this and then they call it a career. And then the athletes and actors and all this, you know, I don't know how the business, I mean, just the footprint of our industry still kind of surprises me that in you know, cable TV is not what it once was, but look at the amount of professional wrestling, 2 or 3. I know it's streaming, but wrestling is at the very top of the list as far as live entertainment goes. And live entertainment is truly the lifeblood of content. Now it's crazy how vital and how important it is.
Paleo wants to know, who is his dream match, only thinking of people he's never wrestled. So who's that one guy that you never got the chance to wrestle? He's no longer around. So I don't want anybody active. I mean, somebody who's no longer doing it, where you think, man, I would have loved to have done something with him. Does that person exist?
Got asked this yesterday. Because when as a young wrestler, see little clips. Now you can see it much more on social media. But Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was one. Another one that we never crossed paths. I'd love to have been a red hot Double J taking on John Cena. Because man, oh man, what a I think he's a fantastic baby face. Is there a third one? Maybe not. You know, I used to think this is kind of a random one. As a tag team partner, Pat Patterson. That dude really was. I could have learned. I learned so much from him, but man, just ahead of his time in psychology and how to lay things out.
Reed wants to know, do you still have the light up jacket?
No, but our man at well, now he's TKO. Man at WWE does. Ben, it is in WWE archives. It sure is.
I think that's kind of fun that they kept that. You know, they got so many fun
all those years. I know.
Yeah, they still kept that.
Yeah.
X Dollars, he's a hater. He wants to know, why do you need Conrad Thompson to do a successful podcast? Thanks for listening. We appreciate you, X Dollars.
Well, Mr. X Dollars, I love you, pal, and I appreciate your support and listening, but I'll just can't do it without Connie in so many different ways. But you got to have the good yin and the yang. He's Andy and I'm Barney.
Or vice versa, depending on the day. Galaxies, he wants to ask you a question that kind of went viral over the weekend, and I like this. If he was to start a wrestling promotion, what indie wrestlers would he sign? Who out there deserves their flowers? This was born out of a conversation on Cody Rhodes' podcast where he had Matt Cardona join him. Of course, Matt before he went back to WWE, was the self-proclaimed king of the indies. And when Cody said, "Hey, who's out there doing some great work, who needs some attention, who deserves to be signed, who's the next big thing, blah blah blah," he said Richard Holiday and Big Ben Bishop. Those were his answers. When you think about the question here, if he was to start a wrestling promotion, what indie wrestlers would he sign? Who comes to your mind, Jeff?
Well, I didn't. That's good. Cody stole it. Here's what. And look, we all look through it through different lenses, but when I look at different folks online, and they're few and far between of the indie guys that are really trying to create a personality, like who is a close second to Ben? I'm trying to rack my brain, and Ben, 6'10", we'll just say he knows the basics and all that, but Ben fabricates stories. It's a completely different ballgame when you get him in an ecosystem of a storyline and multiple storylines with other talent, but you have Ben has no North Star. It is, I'm going to work for this promoter this weekend and this promoter this weekend, and I'm going to come do this shot for Jeff, and I'm going to go over and do this. And so he makes the best of the independent situation with no North Star. It's like he's writing short stories as opposed to the book of AEW, the book of WWE, the book of TNA, whatever it is, where chapter 1, chapter 2, all this. But Ben's writing short stories with all these different promotion, and doing a hell of a job and making it work to the best that he possibly can. But we all, as wrestling fans, and Conrad, me and you wrestling fans, is what we really gravitate for is that story that this happens week 1, this happens week 2. Can you believe what freaking happened week 3? Now, who's the surprise week 4? And how's this integrate? Oh, shit. He lost his title shot, but maybe he'll get it back next week. The episodic nature is always what gets things going. And somebody asked me this weekend that, Conrad, they get into the deep dive and they ask about talking about my dad, and then, they got into Crockett, but all this kind of stuff. And then they went back. Your dad went to Vince and all this. And he's like, well, how did all that happen? And I said, you know what? I don't think you can put your thumb on any one thing, but Vince McMahon in 90, 91, 92, 93, he, in his father's territory, the Garden was once a month. So they had to monetize the Garden every month, and the Boston Garden and Cap DC or whatever it may be. And the business model was not episodic. You had television, but you were trying to bring the cash register in these live events once a month, sometimes once every 3 months. When they went to Monday Night Raw, and you got to get ratings, and it became a completely different format, I really think on some level, what did Vince, why did he want to bring my dad on board or have those calls and all that? And I think it's because by the demand, the Memphis territory always had nothing but weekly towns. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday were all episodic nature. So the television was episodic. So we were doing episodic TV, not to say that other territories weren't, but for the most part, I think Vince looked at my old man as far as an asset. How do you tell episodic television? And I think that in and of itself is the driver. And now that went along for all these years. And again, I'm going back to Ben, but Ben trying to make little short stories, all this. But now that episodic nature is no longer weekly. It's literally daily. And so I think going back to all of our kind of under theme of the conversation is, how do you create that daily? And, Karen's into TikTok now, and she sends me different tidbits trying to educate me, and you read up on it. It's the folks that are posting 3 times a day, daily content. And that's how you create ultimate engagement. So the world just speeds up. Everything speeds up. I don't know if that makes sense, Conrad. I rambled there. Sorry.
No, it's great stuff. One last question, and then we'll put a button on this one. Parmy wants to know, will he ever make another song with Road Dogg? Man, you want to talk about having some fun. What if you guys picked up where you left off?
So we had a couple of different thoughts about that. Is there, is there something to it, Connie? We kind of joke and then half joke, and I'm like, hey, in this world, and we're not saying we're going to go win a Grammy, but is there something to it, Conrad, like doing a song? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is it corny? What do you think, Conrad? Serious. I don't know. Anything can happen. I don't know what the expectation would be, but I think it would. I think we should do a song. I'm just going to go out and say it.
I think we should do a song too. And we want to hear from you guys. This was so much fun. We're going to do another one of these coming. I've got a bunch of other questions we didn't get to. And if you've got a question for Jeff, drop it below right here on YouTube. That's where we'll be pulling the next questions from. There'll be YouTube comments on this particular video. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, go do so right now and turn on the notifications bell at myworldpod.com. That's myworldpod.com. We're going to hope that all of you guys have a safe and happy and healthy holiday this weekend. We'll be back next week. We're going to be previewing a big time AEW pay-per-view. I can't believe it's happening, but not this weekend. Next weekend, AEW returns to pay-per-view Dynasty in Vancouver. Tickets are on sale now at AEWTIX.com. Old Double J, the Last Outlaw, will be there, I'm sure, on the pre-show and in the main event. That's Rumor and Innuendo. We'll talk about all that and a whole lot more next week here on the program. Tell a friend, hit the subscribe button, and tune in next week right here on My World.
Peace.